Holy smokes, I sat there for like 20 seconds before I realized it was waiting for me to press record. So now that I pressed record, we can now look at a cumulative frequency problem. All right, so again, we're looking at this data right here. We're looking at an examination of following scores achieved by a group of students. This is being treated as continuous data because we're looking between 10 and 20, so anything in that range. Of course, scores on an exam would probably be more considered to be discrete. However, like we said before, if there's a lot of discrete data, we will often treat it as if it were continuous so that we can put it in some type of histogram or classes like this. All right, so let's create a cumulative frequency graph. So in order to do that, we are first going to have to create a cumulative frequency distribution table. So we'll go cumulative frequency, the C-freak. That seems like it would be a really cool name. I got to come up with something neat for that, the C-freak. All right, anyway, so I've got between 10 and 20 is 2. So less than 20 would be 2. Less than 30 would be 2 plus 5, which would be 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. 14 plus 21 is 35. Plus 36 is 71. Plus 40 is 111. 111 plus 27 is 138. Plus 9 is 147. Plus 3 is 150. So it's nice that we got a nice clean number there, 150. And so hopefully that will help us as we're creating our numbers here. So we will now go to creating a graph. There we go. So I'm going to go by, let's see, the bottom here is going to be the scores. So I guess I can go by tens. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. All right, so people that got between 10 and 20 would be 2. So I'm assuming that 10 is still 0. 0 is 0, 10 is 0. So between 10 and 20. So by the time I get to 20, I'm up to 2. Now I got to get up to 150 students here. So maybe we go by tens over here as well. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And we just kind of fill in some of the pieces so we remember what we're going by. Same thing down here, which we don't forget. So 2 people would be fairly low. And then I got 7 people that are 30, so 30 would be slightly higher. All right, 14 people are 40 or below, so I can go up to 10, 14. By the time I get to a score of 50, I'm up to 35 people, so 10, 20, 35. All right, by the time I get to a score of 60, I'm up to 71 total people. So 50, 60, 71. Now keep in mind that this is telling you how many people have a 60 or less. So as we go farther in, as we get higher scores, there are more and more students that actually achieved that level. All right, so now we go to the 70, which is 111, so just above 110. And then 138, so 10, 20, 38, so almost 40, which should be the 80 score. And then 90 is 147. And then 100 is the last 3 people. So there we've got a somewhat nice curve. All right. And if you want, like I say, you can kind of fill in the gaps as best as possible. That'll help you make some estimations later. There we go. So now we answer the questions that are asked. It asks us to find the median examination mark. Okay, well, the median should be right at the center, which is 50%. So there's a couple of ways we can go about that. If we want to use the table, then we just say, okay, 150 divided by 2 is 75. And remember, we add a half, so 75 and a half. So let's see, I got 71 people here. So 75 and a half should be in between 71 and 111. Well, let's figure out how much that is. So between 111 and 71, there are 40 people. So there's 40 people, and I need 5.5 of them. And so if I want 5.5 out of 40, that's going to be equal to the 10-point gap that there is here, right, from the 60 to the 70. So 5.5 out of 40 people equals X points out of 10. So I'm just using a proportion to estimate exactly what score that 5.5 would have. And so when I do that, I'll multiply by 10. That'll be 55 divided by 40. And so if I pull out my calculator and go 55 divided by 40, it looks like I got 1.375. So X equals 1.375. And so we would then estimate, well, 71 people got a 60, so the next 5 would get up to 1 point more, so it'll be about a 61. And so we got about a 61, a little bit higher, but a 61 using our table. If we look here at our graph, we can go to the 75th person, which should be right in the middle, and just kind of go right over. So after I got that many people, we go down to their score, which, as you can see, is just above 60. So yeah, 61 or so. All right, how many students scored less than 65 marks? Okay, so let's look at that one. So 65 is right here. So we create our line as best we can, going straight up. And then we go over from there. And it looks like just over 90. So that's the estimation from my graph. It looks like maybe I wasn't quite as straight up as I needed to here. So let's go and look at the graph. And let's see. 65 marks would be halfway between 60 and 70. So 40 people got between 60 and 70. So if we guess, then half of them would be below 65 and half of them would be above. So 71 plus 20 would put me right at the 65 mark, which would be 91. So using my table, I got 91. Using the graph, I also got approximately 91, as you can see from my graph. How many students scored between 50 and 70 marks? Okay, well, 50 is here, and 70 is right there. Now, we already know that because 50 to 70 would be this group and this group, which is a total of 76 students, or 111 minus 35, which would then be 76. So that was pretty easy. You could have got that from here as well. You just take that y value and subtract this one, and you would get the same score or something similar, that we hope. All right. Next, on to letter D. How many students failed, given that the pass mark was 45? Wow, that is a really considerate pass mark. But okay, 45. So we go to 45, and we go over to the side of our graph, which looks to be just under 20 from our graph. We can go and look at that in the table as well. So if I had to guess there, I'd say probably about 18. All right, but if we come up here, we say, okay, well, 14 people got a 40 or below. So now we need the 45, which is halfway in between. So if we go halfway in between, that would mean 10 and a half. Well, we can't do 10 and a half, so maybe 10 and 11. You can do 11 and 10. It's just rounding. It's going to be pretty close anyway. So I go 14 plus 10 would be a total of 24 students. So about 24 students failed. So it looks like my estimate was a little bit off there. I guess I should have made this a little bit steeper or something. But, you know, it's okay. Not anything serious to worry about. But the graph was a little bit off. That's my estimate, though, and that's fine. So then we go on to letter E, the last one. The credit mark, given that the top 16% were awarded credits. So the top 16%, well, there are 150 students. So if I want the top 16%, I'll multiply by 0.16, and so I'll go 150 times 0.16, because that would be 16% of 150. and that didn't work. I must have pushed the wrong button. I got 24 students. So the top 24 students, the top 16% got credits. So 24 students, well, there's 3, 9, so that is a total of 12 students up to here. So I need 12 more students. So I've got the top 12 out of 27, right? So somewhere between 70 and 80 is the cutoff for the credits. So I need 12 more points. So 12 students out of those 27 equals how many points out of the 10-point gap from 70 to 80. And so if we do that, we'll have 12 times 10, we cross multiply, equals 27x. And so I'll go 120 divided by 27, and we get 4.44. So 4.44 points. So that's 4.44 from 80. So if we round, well, that's a little less than 4.5, so we're going to have to go 4. So if I go 4 points down from that, I'm going to get a 76. So approximately 76 was the score that they needed to be awarded credits. You can get that from the graph here as well. So the top 24, so 10, 24 should be somewhere around here. So if we go straight over to the graph, and then straight down, looks like about 50, 60, 70, maybe 76, 77 off our graph. So you can use both the graph or the table to accomplish each of the tasks over here. So make sure you get comfortable with both of them. You do really need to know these frequency graphs because it's quite often for them to give you those graphs. Be able to estimate between two numbers if it's halfway in between or a quarter of the way in between or something like that. Or even if it's not, like the ones that we were doing here where we were setting up a proportion where we said, okay, there's 27 total students in this group. I need 12 of them to be in a new category. So how many out of those 10 points do those 12 students need to get or need not to get? All right, so from there you can solve and cross multiply just like we did. We did it twice, once down here for letter E, and we also did it once up here for letter A. All right, so I hope that that will be helpful to you as you do your homework. Cheers.